Oh, you know what we get to talk about? That time you posted a picture of your fat gut on Twitter and someone called you Barrel Sittler? Is that not it? So anyway, actual hockey news, Leafs-related hockey news. The Leafs signed a guy. That's pretty exciting considering nothing's happening. Until the NHL actually decides what they're going to do with the draft and when, this is the biggest hockey story of the day. The Toronto Maple Leafs have signed defenseman Mikko Lehtonen to a one-year entry-level contract. And no Schedule A bonuses, Schedule B. The only thing Mikko Lehtonen is guaranteed is a Norris trophy. And right now you might be going, hey, I recognize that name. Well, there might be a few reasons for that. There was a Mikko Lehtonen who played in 15 games for the Nashville Predators in the 06-07 season. I have his rookie card somewhere, but I'm not going to bother finding it because that's not the Mikko Lehtonen we're talking about. There was a third-round pick of the Boston Bruins named Mikko Lehtonen in 2005 who played in exactly 2 NHL games. He was selected 83rd overall in 2005. The pick before that, Toronto selected Phil Oreskovic. I know a bunch of you were going, huh? But enough of you were going, ha, and that I mentioned it. And fun fact, the pick after Mikko Lehtonen was Mark Frazier, and the pick after that, Ben Bishop. But once again, this is not the Mikko Lehtonen that we're talking about, although apparently he would be the third Mikko Lehtonen to ever play in the NHL. So let's talk about this specific signing and this specific Mikko Lehtonen who just signed with the Leafs. First and foremost, the Leafs announced this signing this morning, and it was a surprise to me. Mikko Lehtonen's name was out there. People were writing articles. I got to see that cool Jokerit jersey a bunch of times in my timeline. What's your team's logo? A clown. It hardens you. You gotta be tough. But what caught me off guard is I don't remember ever hearing the Leafs mentioned with Mikko Lehtonen. I heard the Habs. I was surprised he didn't sign with the Habs. I heard New Jersey, the Devils, they were out there. At no point did I hear the Leafs. And as soon as I saw this tweet this morning, I knew I had to do one thing. Find out as much as I could about this person I know nothing about to talk about how great at hockey they are. There was a lot being said about Mikko Lehtonen today, so let's take a look at all of that and expand. Lehtonen won a gold medal at the World Junior Championship with Finland in 2014 and a World Championship gold in 2019. So hey, there you go. He's got a gold medal from the World Championships, a gold medal from the World Juniors in 2014. Did you say 2014? Oh. Okay, that seems important because 2014 was 6 years ago. Mikko Lehtonen is currently 26 years old, and if next season takes place in the winter, which we still don't even know yet, he'll be 27 in January. And that's not a knock on him, of course. He should be in his prime, so that's nice. You get a package that's no assembly required. You're not necessarily developing a guy, oh, we're gonna have him on the Marlies for a year or two. No. This guy is playing to make the show. And some of you might go, well, he's never played pro in North America. What if he sucks? They don't have to put him on the team. Petri Kontiola, do you remember that name? If you do, good for you. If you don't, that's because he signed a contract with the Leafs, didn't make it out of camp, went down to the Marlies, decided, screw this, I'm going back to the KHL. If he's good, great. If he's not so good, he can be sent down to the Marlies with a fully variable contract with no penalty against the cap. And if he doesn't like that, he could always go back to the KHL. For Mike Zeisberger, Mikko Lehtonen of Jokerit led all KHL defensemen in goals with 17 and points with 49 in 2019-2020. Also named the KHL Defenseman of the Month for 3 consecutive months from November to January. 26-year-old joins the Leafs on an entry-level contract. Quick thing that could confuse some people. Jokerit is a Finnish-based team in the KHL. It used to be in the Finnish League, but now it's in the Continental Hockey League, mostly Russian, but probably a higher talent pool. But 17 goals, 49 points, reminder, defenseman. This is where we get into the extremely fun game of judging defensemen by their points. And if you're going to look at his high point totals, we should look at the rest of them as well. Obviously, we know Mikko Lehtonen is a late bloomer. You can tell that from his stats in the SM Liga and the fact that we're only hearing about this signing when he's 26 years old. But it should be noted that his highest point total in Finland was 29 points in 55 games, that with Tappara. Then he goes to the KHL with Jokerit. He doesn't even leave the country, he just changes the league. This guy gets 49 points in 60 games. Don't get me wrong, that's mind-blowing, but it's a different league and an unusual jump in his point totals. And his teammates reveal some familiar names. I'm not sure about Brian O'Neill. I recognize Peter Regan. Oh, Petri Conciola. It kind of feels like I should maybe delete that part. Jesse Joensuu, former second-round pick. Sammy Lepisto. Nicholas Jensen was a former first-round pick of the Vancouver Canucks. Some of Lehtonen's highlights were flying around Twitter today, and I retweeted some of them. Steve_Dangle on Twitter. If you want to check those out, I retweeted them. What I noticed is, boy, a lot of those goals were on the power play. Is that opportunity going to be available to him with the Leafs? Enough about numbers, what about interchangeable skills? From Sean Shapiro, caught up with Jere Lehtonen today. That's Lehtonen spelled different. Man, Jere Lehtonen was such an underrated player. Just read the quote. Caught up with Jere Lehtonen yesterday and ended up discussing Mikko Lehtonen a little bit. Handy. Lehtonen, who is the GM of Team Finland, said Lehtonen was one of the best D in Europe. Phrasing. Whichever NHL team signs him would like his ability to move the puck and jump into the play. Okay. I did see some sections of hockey Twitter going, oh, another guy who can move the puck. I guess that's exactly what they need. But also, oh, another left-handed defenseman. That's exactly what they need. And, well, you might have a point there. Morgan Rielly, Jake Muzzin, who just re-signed, Travis Dermott, who still needs a contract, drama, and Rasmus Sandin. In a point by Michael Agello, the signing of KHLer Mikko Lehtonen increases the Leafs' depth on D and decreases the chances of Martin Marincin being on the 23-man roster next season. That should be considered a win-win. Martin Marincin hasn't played a game in like 2 months and you're still taking shots at him? You leave him alone. Right now he's trying to social distance the top of his head from the roof of his condo and failing, and he needs your support. Anyway, on the topic of what the Leafs need, left-handed defenseman, right-handed, that became a big part of the conversation. From Bob McKenzie, Lehtonen is a left shot who played left side in the KHL this season, but he did play right D for Finland at last year's World Championship. He's a candidate, along with multiple others, to play right D, but Travis Dermott is probably the left shot D with the most experience / aptitude to play right shot. Actually, just as I read that, it's not like they're going to make Travis Dermott change-handed net. Left side, right side, I think is what he meant. I'm smart. And another interesting little wrinkle from Sportsnet's Luke Fox. Maple Leafs' Mikko Lehtonen says he played an entire season on the right side in Sweden. Fine playing either side, he says. And it should be mentioned that the season before this one was the season that he played in Sweden, meaning the season before this one, he played on the right side. Begging the question, Lehtonen or Rightonen? My answer to many of the questions people have posed is very simple. Is Mikko Lehtonen the right fit for the Leafs? Should he play on the left side / do they even need another left side defenseman? Will he play the right side? My first and foremost answer is having good players is good. If you ever have the opportunity to get a good player for free, and by free I mean you don't have to trade anything for them, you don't have to use a draft pick on them, if the only thing you are spending on them is money and a roster spot, you get that player for free. And if they are good and you have the opportunity to get them, why wouldn't you do that? The answer is you do it, you always do it every single time you do it. Especially if they are on a deal that is under $1 million and fully variable in the AHL if. I know Leaf fans have been talking about Mikko Lehtonen like he's Bobby Orr ever since he signed that deal. But the fact of the matter is, before he signed with the Leafs, when he was rumored to be going to the Habs, when he was rumored to be going to the Devils, when he was rumored to be going anywhere but Toronto, he was being referred to as one of the best defensemen, if not the best defenseman, playing in Europe. If you have an opportunity to sign that player, you sign that player and figure out the rest later. You don't necessarily buy groceries because you're currently hungry. You buy groceries because, well, you need food to live. And due to all the cap uncertainty with everything that's going on and the fact that the Leafs defense kind of stinks, the Leafs will probably be rummaging the pantry at some point, happy that they got a fresh Mikko Lehtonen. And he's 26! You don't even gotta do anything to it, just take him out of the freezer and put it in the oven. I'm hungry. So, now that we've established that signing good players is a good thing, seriously though, where should Mikko Lehtonen play? There is a little weird something that I would like to mention that we mentioned on the most recent Pentacle Pizza Steve Dangle podcast with Adam Wild and Jesse Blake. Whenever the NHL decides what to do with this season, unpause it, have a ridiculous Alice in Wonderland, very merry on birthday fever dream of a playoff scenario / draft before the playoffs even begin. I don't know what they're going to do with this season. Next season, if they want to play a full schedule, full 82 game schedule, but start it like 2 months late, which is sort of what it sounds like they want to do, they might have to look at some weird ways of doing that. And that might be incorporating the American Hockey League's little schedule of having 3 games in 3 nights. And I know hockey players hate this term, they like to think they're all tough, but when you're playing 3 games in 3 nights, load management is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. They do it in the minors all the time. If they do something weird like that, you're going to be happy that you're carrying 4 full defensive pairings. But we don't know that the NHL is going to do that. That's literally just a theory that we came up with. So let's talk about more realistic things. The Leafs do like to get creative, but what they have, especially if Tyson Barrie walks in the offseason, whenever the offseason is a distinct lack of anything on the right side. They're going to have Justin Hall and Timothy Liljegren, and that's it. Now, what we learned with 2 years of Ron Hainsey is, despite the fact that you're left-handed, you can still play right defense. Like, you're allowed. It's not illegal. At this point, the Leafs are so weak on defense, you just need your 6 best players to get out there and play. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the Leafs get creative. We saw them toy with the idea of using 7 defensemen. I'm not sure Sheldon Keefe loved it very much. But what if they platoon the right side a little bit? What if they alternate? What if some nights Morgan Rielly's on the right side, which he has done at times in his career? What if Travis Dermott is there? I want to say Rasmus Sandin had a couple laps on the right side. We know Martin Marincin, I think he plays on the right side more than the left. And then plop into all of that, Mikko Lehtonen played a full season on the right side, but is a good left-handed defenseman. Remembering, Justin Hall and Timothy Liljegren still exist, so you might only have to fill that 1 spot on the right. Travis Dermott on the right side is something that annoys me to no end. I know Bob McKenzie said it. It's a favorite of a lot of people I follow in the analytics community. Oh, Travis Dermott on the right side, right side. Why do they never do it then? Ever! All this talk about Travis Dermott playing on the right side, it's like talking about Snoop Dogg having a platinum album. He's done it, but it's been a while. That's not a knock on Travis Dermott at all. It's a knock on the notion of him playing in a position where the Leafs refuse to play him. But, like I said, maybe they'll get creative. They kind of have to. As for getting him power play time, that's an interesting one. Without Tyson Barrie on the back end, I assume Morgan Rielly goes back on the power play. After all, he was amazing a couple years ago on that first power play unit. 20 goals, over 70 points, and he proved this year how valuable he is to the Leafs overall with his presence and his absence. So assuming Morgan Rielly is the one who takes over the #1 power play slot, there's still another one. Jake Muzzin's played there. Rasmus Sandin has had a cup of coffee there, and he was actually pretty good. Sandin's also super young. And Jake Muzzin, they usually use him in a shutdown role, and that takes Justin Hall out of it too, because they're probably going to play together. Actually sort of opens up a door for Mikko Lehtonen. Giving Mikko Lehtonen sheltered 5-on-5 minutes, especially as he's getting used to North American ice, but giving him some cookies on the power play, seems like it makes a lot of sense. And the last thing that everyone seems to be forgetting, you can trade people. I feel like this happens every time. Every time a team is up against the cap or they have too many players, people go, how are they gonna trade? Oh, that's how! It's always there. It's always an option. And what the future holds? We don't even know when the draft is, man. I have no idea. Questions. How are you doing, friend? Also, let me teach you Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons? I'm not into nerdy stuff. Stop looking at my toys! Yeah, I'd learn it, sure. There are certain games that just have unfortunate names, but like Settlers of Catan sounds awful. It rules, and no, I don't want your sheet! That's for how I'm doing. Pretty good. Pretty good. My wife has actually learned how to cut hair, like, decent. I think, not bad. Is Kyle Dubas Obi-Wan? No, he's alive. Who's your best D partner? Okay, so, James Myrtle from The Athletic is on my EASHL team. Yes, it's true. And he plays defense. And he's 6'9" and terrifying. Ian Tulloch is smaller, but also terrifying, because he just kind of goes, wee! He's super skilled, but, like, needs to come back more. He's gotten better. He's gotten better. And Tic Tac Tomar plays defense sometimes, but he's more of a bang pucks in from in front of the net sort of guy. So Myrtle, since you asked the question, you. I just want to see the victory puppies, please. True, true. 1 sec. Yeah! Victory puppies! Quarantine puppies! Here you go. Ow! That was my entire hand! Come here! Oh, you didn't catch it, you stink! You gotta do it again! You stink! Charlie, get it! There you go, Iggy! I should give it to Charlie! You suck! Oh my god, you're out of practice! Good boy, practicing social distancing. You also eat your poop, but we won't talk about that. Oh god. Alright, so that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. The Mikko Lehtonen is a Toronto Maple Leaf signing. We'll see when training camp comes, whenever that is.